And so a very warm welcome to everybody at today's meeting, May the 15th, 2024, and we're in the middle of May. Who can believe it? I'm Mike Wozniak, you know me, and I'm hosting today's session as usual. Sheeta is with us and will be acting as moderator through the session. Sheeta, was there anything that you'd like to add before we move on?
Yes, if you're a guest, please let us know in the chat. Give us your name and your email address so that we can warmly welcome you. If you're not new and we haven't seen you in a while, thank you. And everybody, welcome and thank you for joining us again today.
Thanks very much, Sheeta. Eckhart, of course, our president is with us. Eckhart, was there anything else that you'd like to say at this point?
Well, before we started this meeting during the social 15 minutes, we talked briefly about an event that's taking place tomorrow, and I think you, Mike, will talk about that.
I've already prepared a slide.
The class is organized by Dan Rossing, so we'll talk about that. But other than that, I'd just like to welcome everybody, all our members, to this exciting meeting. I'm looking forward. I think most of us are travelers, and some of us are travelers around the world. So I believe this presentation will be of great interest to all of us, and I'm looking forward to that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder, folks, you probably know about this by now, but two things. First of all, all the information that you could ever possibly need about NMUG can be found on the NMUG website. And today of importance is that I've set up a thread, as usual, on the message board, so that if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make about today's meeting, please add them to the thread that's been set up for today's MAPS session. A couple of announcements. First of all, just a little reminder that we have beginners sessions next month. They're free and available to absolutely all members, so everybody will receive a Zoom invitation to join them if you would like to come along. They take place on Saturday, June the 15th between 10 a.m. and midday, and that meeting will be devoted to Mac OS. And then the following Saturday, June the 22nd, between 10 a.m. and midday, when the session will be devoted to iPad OS. And those sessions will be led by Dan Rossing, who's with us today, and we look forward very much to seeing you at those. We're very keen to invite guests. We've not made a big fuss about inviting guests until the past couple of weeks, but if you know anybody that would like to join you and come along and just try NMUG out to see if it's a good fit for them, please do invite them along to one of our meetings. You're very welcome to share the meeting web link, Zoom link with them. And all we ask is that they just say hello. And hopefully, if they like what they see, they'll come back and join us. Important information about next season, and that is that at the moment, we're running a single Zoom link for all of our meetings. So every meeting that you attend, the Zoom link is exactly the same. The one thing that we can't do is, at the moment, it makes it very awkward for us to invite guests, because obviously it means that everybody can access all meetings. So from the beginning of next season, there will be a separate Zoom link for each meeting. And I warn you about this just in case you fill your calendar by copy and pasting the old link, because it won't work next season. So you know where to pick them up. You can pick them up from the emails that Dan sends out every week just before the meetings, and you can also pick them up from the website. And next week's topic and speaker, first of all, Nick is back. For those of you who attended his fantastic meeting last week on Nitro, you'll remember, please excuse me, you'll remember that Nick had only got halfway through demonstrating his amazing software when we hit meeting's end. So we've invited him back. He's back with us this time next Wednesday. So if you have any questions, please bring them along with you. His entire meeting, I think, will be devoted to both answering our questions and also demonstrating the full breadth of his extraordinary image editing software. So that's next Wednesday. I hastily thrown this slide in just to advertise Dan's numbers class. It's taking place tomorrow. If you're interested in joining him, admission is free. Dan, would you like to say a few words about this meeting?
Sure. Yeah, it's just going to be a basic numbers class. I'm not going to get into real high detail. I just want to show how numbers can be a replacement for Excel and even Google Sheets. I think it's really easy to use. So just a little thing on introduction to numbers. So you can sign up over on my site, danstutorials.com. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And that just leaves me to introduce Mike Matthews. Mike, it's great to see you back again. And I'll just stop my share so that you can take over the screen. Thank you very much. Where are you? Mike, I think you might be muted.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Everybody should see some slides now, and
Yeah,
we're
We
ready to
do.
go. Thanks again for having me. Pleasure to be back. It's gets me out of bed early in the morning here on the West Coast. It's a good thing. So we're going to talk about maps today, Apple Maps specifically. This is me. My name is Mike. This is where you can find me if you need me. But I want to just say one thing about what Dan just said about numbers. If you've never used numbers on the Mac, take a look at it. It's really, really quite good. So I encourage everybody to that opportunity and listen to what Dan has to say about it. I'm in that app every day. It's really quite good. Okay, let's talk about some maps. Many of you may recall when the very first iPhone came out, there was a Maps app on the iPhone. And it was right there. And it was tied to Google Maps. And over time, Apple decided that they needed to develop their own Maps app for various reasons. Google wanted Apple to do some things in the Maps app that Apple wasn't really ready to do. So after much work, Apple's Maps app debuted. And quite frankly, it was not very good. There were airports in locations that didn't exist. There were numerous problems with it. Some of these overhead shots with like freeways running straight into walls and things like this came out, and it was not a good launch at all. And some big heads rolled at Apple over this problem. But Apple has spent quite a bit of time and quite a bit of energy and quite a bit of money revising the Maps app over time to the point where it's fine. It's good. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we're not that far from Apple's headquarters. So it's kind of a benefit for me and anybody else in the Bay Area because Apple tends to roll out their new features and improvements to the Maps app starting kind of at the Bay Area and working their way out. So it's quite good. A lot of details have been added to the Maps app over time. You can get all kinds of Maps app in the App Store if you like. Today, we're just going to talk about Apple Maps and its benefits and how it can work. So I think we'll start by just taking a quick run through some map settings. So if you've got an iPhone handy, I'm going to use that to demo with today. You can just tap the Settings app and then scroll up a bit until you find Maps. And then you should see a screen that looks something like this one on the right. And I'm going to drop the slides and show you my phone and I'm going to do the exact same thing here. So let me just stop sharing the slides and start sharing my phone screen. And there it is. So I'm just going to tap Settings. And on this very first setting screen, where you see your name at the top, you can just swipe up until you find Maps and give it a tap. And this is what you should see. I'm running the current version of iOS. It's 17.5, came out yesterday. If you're not that current, don't worry about it. There hasn't been any changes to the Maps app with the latest version of the software that I'm aware of. So we're not going to hit every one of these, I don't think, in the interest of time, but we will hit most of these. The first one at the top here is allowing maps to access your location. And when I tap this option, while using the app or widgets is actually the best solution for you here. I've taught this class many times, and several people in the class don't have their phone set to know its location while using the Maps app, which kind of makes the Maps app not as useful as it can be. If the Maps app can't get your phone's location, it can't give you very accurate directions. You can still use the Maps app, but directions are not going to be very helpful. So you should probably try to choose either while using the app or while using the app or widgets. As most of you probably know, there are widgets for the Maps app that you can put on your iPhone home screen or in the Today view. So using app or widgets is probably the best choice for the Maps app. And there's a switch down here called Precise Location, and you should probably turn that on as well. The iPhone can allow various apps to know either a general location for you, which is what will happen if you turn this switch off, or a precise location, which is actually better for the Maps app. An example of when you may want to turn this switch off and not let an app know your precise location is for something like the weather apps, which can give you a good sense of the weather around you without having to know your precise location. But for the Maps app, precise location is kind of important. So I'd recommend you turn that on as well.